things that happens when you start to get to know someone. You start to learn things about them that aren't necessarily apparent on the surface. This video. Well, that is Dr. Shamini Jain. She's been with us a few times this month, like every Monday. We've been putting a very special focus on mental health issues. And maybe if I had told you Dr. Jain was also a singer, this is the kind of song that you would expect. But would you think of this? Yeah, that's Dr. Jain, heavy metal singer, performing in San Diego in 2018. What gives me so much delight is that she's actually here in studio with me, which just gives me joy to have a human next to me to talk to. Don't get me wrong, Dr. Jain, I love talking to you on Zoom, but there's nothing like being in person. How are you?
I agree. I'm great. I'm so happy to be here with you in person. It's such an honor.
It's such a treat. Look, okay, before we get all to the other important stuff, I'm sorry, how is it that you hid this from me, that you're a singer in a heavy metal band, and how come it doesn't fit with the person that I have talked to?
Well, you're not alone. I mean, I will say that when I started doing this on stage a couple of years ago, it felt totally natural to me because I've always loved singing, but I realized really quickly that some people thought it was amazing, and then other people were like, what? That just doesn't fit with my perception of who you are. But this is the beauty of creativity, is it takes us in all these wonderful places. And it's a wonderful way for us to express who we are in any moment and serve. And so for me, whether I'm singing Joni Mitchell or I'm singing Iron Maiden, it doesn't really matter because I love to sing.
Well, and here's the thing. You might think that we're just having a little bit of fun, which we like to do, obviously, and we always leave space for joy and for fun. But there's purpose to us actually showing this, because we're actually having a conversation about the impact nurturing our creative side can have on our mental health, our mental well-being. So it kind of fit perfectly that producer Joss found this. So for those of us that don't have an inner, heavy metal singer in us, how do we mine creativity? I am one of these people that I know I have a creative side, but I don't know how to express it. It's not obvious. My talents to, like, I can't paint, I can't sing, I can't necessarily tap dance. How do we mine that?
This is so easy. So there are two main things we want to remember about being creative. One, we're all creative. By nature of us being alive and human, we are creative beings.
Okay.
And the second is that the science shows us that whatever we do, we don't have to be a famous actor or painter or anything like that. We don't have to sing on stage to thousands of people to mine our creativity. The data actually shows us that everyday creativity matters, and it's super simple. So just to let people know that there really is a science behind this. The science shows that whether we're dancing, singing, writing, making art, making a creative meal, dancing around the house,
building
singing around the house. Yes, literally all of that helps us to tap into a flow that's sort of beyond our conditioned mind. What happens, this is Mental Health Awareness Month still. What happens is sometimes when we're depressed and anxious, we get into sort of a stuck pattern of thinking. And so when we just allow creativity to come through us, we let that go for a little while, and we literally tap into new energy. There are actually studies showing, for example, that people who start singing devotionally, even if you're not a singer, even if you've never done that before in your life, there's studies that show if you can sing devotionally for a few weeks, and they compared this with people who just listen to music, they actually found profound changes in markers of cell aging. Now, have you ever noticed how artists always seem young?
Yeah, no,
right?
I mean, hello, Mick Jagger. Like, let's just talk about that, right?
Yeah, they're tapping into a creative force. From the spiritual perspective, it's an idea that you're really tapping into creative life force, and then we see that in the data through these markers of cell aging. So we can start with where we are, and it's really easy. You can literally take 10 or 15 minutes a day, and you can do this, for example, while you're cooking. Now, my kids don't love this, but I'm not a dancer, and my daughter is, so she has to comment when I dance around the house when I'm cooking. Well,
but it's also about making a joyful noise, right? Like, just get into the act. It doesn't have to be necessarily set aside time. You're sort of suggesting that we can find these spontaneous bits of space to dance or sing or just be creative in other ways.
Sing in the car, Draw,
Guilty.
just if you feel inspired, just write something down. Part of what's happening is we're expressing emotions that we may not have been in touch with, and then beyond that, once we learn how to just be creative with where we are, we express our emotions, but then we also tap into something that's even greater than emotion. It's literally the wellspring of our being.
And I imagine that when you start to mine that and start to give space to it, it opens other doors. It frees up other space, perhaps more creativity to flow in?
Exactly, exactly. We just open the dam, you know, we get rid of that idea, I'm not a creative person, because we're all creative.
I've been saying that to myself my entire life.
I'm not a creative person.
I have been.
We all do. It's so sad, but that's not what the data shows us. The data shows us we're all creative, and we just begin with where we are. Get rid of this idea that you're not a creative person. By being alive, you're creative. That is just step one. And the data actually suggests this too. Once we start viewing ourselves as creative, we become more creative, we have less anxiety, less depression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that right there, especially when we talk about the fact that our mental health has been impacted by this pandemic. All of us have had added stress and anxiety. This is a way that we can infuse some of this. And by the way, it's fun.
It's exactly.
Right?
That's the whole point.
There's some yummy in there as well.
Exactly. We're literally moving to something that feels yummy to us, and that helps us sort of release the stuckness or yuckness that we've had carrying around.
The stuckness or yuckness. So there you go, people. Now we understand that on stage, do you take on a different persona when you're on stage singing?
I just do what the music calls for, really. That's what it is. I try to just be the channel for the music, and I think that's what most musicians do. It's really not about you, right? It's just about tapping into what needs to be expressed in that moment.
I love this. I love this. We talk often about people sort of having the right and left side of the brain. It is that equilibrium, right? If you can feed each of those muses, you can be, I don't know, it seems like you could be more centered. There's a couple of things we want to tell you about. Tonight, can I brag on you? 8:30, the documentary Way of Miracles is showing at the Regal LA Live as part of the Awareness Film Festival. Dr. Jan and the director, Christina Vercello, will be there. They're answering questions after the movie, so it's a nice Q&A opportunity. But then, if you happen to be down in the San Diego area next weekend, Dr. Jan will be at Warwick's Books in La Jolla. Sunday, October 31st, also known as Halloween, from 12 to 2. She'll be signing copies of her book, Healing Ourselves. You have been so tremendous to us. You've helped us navigate so many things during Mental Health Awareness Month. It actually makes sense that you would be here in studio with us today.
Oh, well, thank you, Michaela. It's been such a pleasure. It really has.
This isn't the end. Don't worry. We're going to find you. We have lots. This issue isn't going away, so we're going to need to lean on you a whole lot more.
Happy to help.
She's a little bitty thing, y'all. I thought Dr. Jan was this big personality. She's a big personality, but just a little tiny lady. Thanks so much for being here. What a delight.
Thank
We're
you.
going to take a short break. We'll be back in a flash. Okay, so I'm taking a pottery class.
Oh,
so there's me digging into it.
That's awesome.
I'm trying.
I've been wanting to do that too. I've been wanting to sculpt. I've always